What is the best handheld ham radio transceiver? The best for 2022. Here's my pick of my top 16 handheld transceivers for ham radio in 2022 coming up right now.
TQ photo, TQ parked on the air, Kilo Charlie 5, Hotel Whiskey Bravo.
This video is sponsored by Mezzi and Palomi Coax. Mezzi and Palomi, or M&P Coax out of Italy, makes some of the best coax and best feed line available to the amateur radio community today. From their smallest size, around 5 millimeters, to their largest size, around 13 millimeters and beyond, they offer something for everyone in every activity of amateur radio. Direct berry coax for your home shack and high temperature coax for those types of environments is also available from their catalog. Their Evo or Evolution PL259 connectors are some of the best I have ever seen in this industry. If you want some of the greatest coax and feed line made for the amateur radio community today, check out the link in the description below to save a 5% discount, and thank you Mezzi and Palomi for supporting this channel. Ham Radio 2.0 reviews, news, and how-tos of things that are new in amateur radio. Thank you for joining the channel today. This video series, if you want to call it that, I've done this for the last 2 years. I did it in 2020 and again in 2021. These are some of my most popular videos on this channel. This is information that everyone wants to know. This video will be added to a playlist on my channel called The New Ham Workshop. So go out and check that out. I'll put links for everything in the description below and sometimes up here during the video. As I've said in many of these videos, check prices. If you're watching this video 2 or 3 or 6 months after the fact, prices may fluctuate. So don't take these prices as biblical. Go check the prices for whenever you're watching this video. As I've done in the past with all of these radios, these are going in order of price. We're going to start at the lowest price and we're going to go up from there. We're going to talk about some of the most generally asked about features, some of the kind of useless features maybe 1 or 2 of them might have, and what bands all these are operating. So we're going to start at the bottom of the list as far as price goes. This is the Tyt Uv88. Now, this is almost the exact same radio as the Redivus RT85. I did a video on that radio a year or so ago, whenever it was. I don't remember because I do so many videos. But these are a very basic dual-band, dual-display, monochrome display HT radio that you can get on Amazon. This one, at the time of this recording, is about just under $35. They hold 200 channels and channel capacity. That's one thing I'm going to be talking about on this video, this specific video you're watching right now. We're going to compare channel capacities, bands, and where these are made. So you're going to see that on all 16 of these radios. This one is obviously made in China. TYT radios are made in China. It carries 200 channels in its capacity, which it says right here. The Redivus does the same thing, which is also made in China, and you can get different accessories for it. It weighs just over 1 pound, has a lithium-ion battery, which is included, and several other things like that. So if you're looking to get into amateur radio and you don't want to spend much money, you kind of want to see what the deal is about, get on some local repeaters, use it on some simplex for both 2 meter, the 144 megahertz band, and 70 centimeter, the 440 megahertz band. This is a good entry starting point for that. This next one up, I really like. I just did a review of this radio. Now, most of the time, your Baofeng radios are going to carry about 128 channels. This one carries 999 memory channels. This is the first Baofeng I've ever seen that carries more than a couple of hundred channels. Some of the specialized Baofengs, we're going to talk about one here in a minute, will carry up to 200 channels, but most of your Baofengs, your UV5R, your UV82, UVHP, and all these other ones carry 128 channels, kind of a standard package type thing. This one actually carries up to 999 memory channels. On this eBay ad, it's advertised to have an 8800 milliamp hour battery and a 10-watt output. That's crap, okay? So the one that I got, that I did a power test on, proved not to do anywhere near that. I think it did between 4 and 6 watts on high power, something like that. If you know that going in, and if you understand that 5 watts is pretty standard on most HT radios, we're going to talk about some that are higher capacity today. 5 watts is not a bad power output. If you don't want to buy it because you're like, well, if it's going to advertise this and provide that, I don't want to buy a radio that does that. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. But the reason I included this one today is because it has some extra features that you don't see in a Baofeng radio, which is 999 channel memory capacity. We can scroll down here, we can see right here. Of course, these are made in China. Number of channels is 999 right there. This is a UV13R. It's a 2021 design, so this one wasn't out quite yet when I did my Best HT of 2021 video, but I bought one, reviewed it earlier this year, and for what it is, again, it's not really 10 watts, but the channel capacity is something that they're all going to have. It has a USB-C charger, so you can charge it via standard USB-C. That's another thing that a lot of radios these days don't have. So the fact that you can charge it via USB-C, it has extra channels from what your regular Baofeng has, comes in at $47.50. This is a good addition as long as you understand what you're buying. It's not going to be the best radio that we talk about today. It's at the lower end of the scale, but if it fits your needs, it could be a good additional to your arsenal. Coming up next is one of my favorite radios, and this is the one that my nephew, my 15-year-old nephew, who got his license earlier this year, he has this radio, and this is the one he normally uses. This is a TYT TH350, again, made in China. The great thing about this radio is that it's tri-band. It includes 2 meters, 144, the 1.25 meter band of 220 megahertz, and the 440 band of the 70 centimeter band of 440 megahertz. And it's got all 3 bands displayed on the front screen. You can see all 3 bands at the same time. You can choose the memory channel. You can choose the VFO channel in it. It does hold 200 memory channels. And for $69.99, just a little bit more than the Baofeng, it's going to be a better performing radio, and it's going to give you an extra band that the Baofeng, the Tyt Uv88 and the Baofeng we talked about doesn't have at all. Now, this one does come with 2 different antennas. One of them is dual band and one of them is 220. What I did was I went out and bought a Nagoya tri-band antenna. MFJ makes one. There's 2 or 3 other manufacturers that make tri-band antennas, and I replaced 2 antennas for one so that every time I pick up this radio, I've got 1 antenna, and it's easy to use. Coming in at $70 today, it is the lowest priced tri-band radio we're going to talk about today, but it's not the only one, so stay tuned and let me know what you think about all of the tri-band radios we talk about today. At the end of the video, I'm going to ask you to put a word in the comments that lets me know you watched to the end, just to kind of see it's a fun game to play. Let's move on. This one is also a tri-band, coming in at the exact same price. This is a B-Tech UV5x3. Now, B-Tech, or Baofeng Tech, is an American company. They import their radios from China and sell them through the United States. They're either in North or South Dakota. I forget which one it is every time. But if you ever need support, you need to email or call someone, you got questions about anything that they do, you're going to pick up the phone and call someone in the United States. You don't have to email China. You don't have to wait for time zone conflicts and whatnot. So it's they're easy to deal with. Most of their stuff is sold on Amazon. You can go to baofengtech.com and see all the listings of their radios. They are a sponsor of this channel, and they've been very gracious to send me radios for review over the years. But this is one of the ones they sent me a couple years ago, and I kept it because it works so well. It looks like a Baofeng UV5R. It's dual display, so you can have 2 bands displayed at one time, but it is tri-band. It does include the 1.25 meter or 220 megahertz band. The channel capacity is 128 channels, which is pretty typical of most of your Baofeng radios. But since it does come with 2 antennas also. It comes with a dual band 2 meter 440 and a 220 antenna. So I got rid of those 2 antennas. I put a Nagoya tri-band antenna on it, and I never looked back. So this one and the TYT version are both tri-band antennas that come with 2 tri-band radios that come with 2 antennas that I replaced for 1 tri-band antenna. If I had to pick one out of both of these, they're the exact same price. Okay, so if I had to pick one out of both of these, the TYT would probably be it, simply because it has tri-display, so you can look and display and receive all 3. It doesn't receive. It has what's called tri-watch, so it'll monitor 3 bands at the same time, and the first one to pop up, that's the one you're going to hear. Okay, it won't receive all 3 bands at the same time. This one has dual display. Same thing, the first one to pop up activity is the first one you'll hear, but it's a tri-band with only dual display. Now, the good thing about the UV5 is that it takes all the accessories you can get for a Baofeng UV5R, which has been around for years. It takes the extended battery, it takes all the belt clips and belt pouches and antennas and extra earpieces, stealth or regular PTT earpiece, microphones and whatnot. It's got the standard Kenwood K1 connector plug on the side of it. This one does too, but this one's got a proprietary battery, a little bit different antenna and whatnot. So if you have a Baofeng UV5R and you got a bunch of accessories for it, you could pick this one up and use all your accessories on it. So it's kind of a mix or match, give or take, depending on what you're looking for. But if I had to pick one, it'd probably be the TYT, simply because it has tri-display. You can monitor, you can watch all 3 bands at the same time. Moving on, we're going to talk about some Japanese radios now. This is a Yaesu Ft5R. It's a newer model than some of the radios we're going to talk about today. It's been out for a couple of years. I did a video on this a while back, and I was talking about how on my box it said it was made in China. Since then, Yaesu has changed several of their manufacturing, depending on where it is made in the assembly line chain of where all these products are made. Yaesu is now making everything in Japan. So I've had several people come along in my video and comment after the fact when I said mine said made in China on the box, which I showed in the video. They've come along and said, hey, I've got the same radio. Mine says made in Japan. If you buy one today or anytime after today, you're going to get one that's made in Japan. So that's a good thing for those of you who care about such things. So these are Japanese made. Yaesu is a really good name brand that you should know if you've been in the ham radio world a while. This comes with a 2,500 milliamp hour lithium ion battery. It is dual band, 2 meters and 440 only. Comes in at about $89 at rnlelectronics.com, who is, again, one of my sponsors. Really great people over at RNL. And it has, like I said a minute ago, it has a 200-channel memory capacity. So we're going to talk about its big brother, which is much, much older, here in just a second. But at $88, $89, you're going to get a much, much better receiver and audio quality in this radio than you will in all of the previous ones we've talked about so far, which are Chinese made. Moving over to Radiodity for a minute. Again, we're going in order of price. This is a GS5B analog radio, dual band analog. It's got a nice, beautiful color display. It's 5 watts. It's got 2 PTT buttons on the side of it. So if you key up the top of the PTT, it keys up the top band on the radio, and the bottom PTT keys up the bottom band without having to switch back and forth between the bands. It is Bluetooth programmable. I did a video on this radio when it was brand new, when it first came out. It was sent to me by Radiodity. I still have this radio. It still works very well. You download an app on your phone, and you can get it via Android or iOS. You scroll down here, and they've got QR codes right here for both Android app and iOS app. So you get an app on your phone, it Bluetooth connects to the radio, and then you just program everything from the phone, and you click send, and it sends the information over Bluetooth to the radio. So it's really easy to program. I get asked all the time if Bluetooth headsets work on this radio. I think last time I checked, which it's been a while since I've checked, that was not the case. It was just Bluetooth programmable. There wasn't any other Bluetooth stuff you could do on it. The display is really pretty with the color display. It's easy to program with the app, and it's got some extra features in it like that. So coming in at about $105. This one also has USB charging. Now it's micro USB charging, but it's better than no USB charging at all. So you can charge it via a charging brick or via your cigarette lighter adapter in your vehicle. So it's easy to charge as well. This is a great radio to the lineup today, and everybody I know who has one of these really likes it, so I'm adding it to the list today. With the link in the description below, you can save $15 off of a $65 or more order on Radiodity.com. So this radio is $105. If you use the link below, you can save $15 off that price. You can put other stuff in your cart and still save $15 off that price. So check the link in the description below for the Radiodity coupon. Moving on again back to Yaesu, and the Japanese brand is the Ft5R. Now, I have talked about the Ft5R in the past. Some people think I should always include it because it's a tried and true. It's a very old radio. The design on this is probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 years old. I don't know exactly when they came out. The original radios had NiCad batteries that I don't think you can get anymore, and if you can, they're probably all dead. I'm told that they make newer, upgraded batteries for this. I'm not sure if they're aftermarket or if they're Yaesu batteries, but these are just basically bulletproof radios. They are dual band but single display, which means that you can monitor the 144 megahertz band or the 440 band at the same time if you're just going to leave it on a frequency or channel. Yes, you can scan, you can set it to scan, you can set it to go through a channel memory scan, however you want to do that, but it is single display, so you can only look at one band at a time. It is a 5-watt dual band HT, very tried and true. The reason this one's still made is because people love it. People love this radio. Everybody who gets this radio says it's the best sounding radio I've had. It's bulletproof. I carry it around all the time. I've knocked it around on my belt and dropped it on the driveway. I don't recommend doing that, but if you do it, this radio has more survivability than like a $25 Baofeng Uv5R. So I didn't include this on one of my lists in the past, and I got a lot of comments saying you should include the FT60. It's a great radio, so I'm taking your word for it. We're including the FT60 today. It comes in at $155 over at gigaparts.com. Check the link in the description below for discounts available at gigaparts.com, and thank you for supporting this channel. Now we're going to move over to Waxon, Ocean Oshang. I've had people on the channel tell me, no, it's pronounced Ocean. No, it's pronounced Oshang. You know what? I don't know. It's spelled with a W. That's all I know right now. This is the KG UV9D Mate. This is a 10-watt HT radio. It comes in this orange color, which I really, really like. It's really easy to see. I carry this radio myself. I carry my everyday carry backpack, and I have usually 3, sometimes 4 radios in it. This is generally my go-to radio for analog dual band. It's got a large display. It carries 999 memory channels in it. It will do up to 9.5 to 10 watts per band as advertised. It's advertised as a 10-watt radio, and it does between 9.5 and 10 watts, and it does very well in that regard. Additionally, I've had it at the hunting lease before, and it's fallen off of my belt because I was putting my backpack on or doing something. I rubbed up against a tree, and since it's orange, one of my hunting buddies was driving through the road where I had dropped it, and he saw it in the road. He's like, "What is that orange thing?" He got out and I'm like, "Oh, that's a radio. It's probably Jason's." So it's easy to keep track of if you set it on a shelf or if you drop it in the woods or something like that. That orange color is nice and bright, so it's very easy to keep track of. But it also says right here that it does crossband repeat, so you can set this up with maybe an external antenna at your campsite or your hunting lease or wherever you go out in the field and use it as a crossband repeater to have everyone talk to one another, increase the range a little bit. These Oshang radios, the UV9 series of radios, they all have wideband receive, so they'll receive 6 or 7 or 8 different bands besides just 2 meters and 440, but they only transmit on 2 meters and 440 for amateur radio use. So these are really great radios. This one comes in at $159 today. It's definitely getting added to the list because I like this radio and I carry it myself. Sticking with the Oshang brand, this is the KG UV8 Hotel. Now, the UV8 series doesn't have all the wideband receive that the UV9 series has. It has a couple less features. This one here is a newer design. It's an 8-watt HT, carries a 3200 milliamp hour battery, and it's got the dark background with the light text on it, which I really like. This is kind of some of their new features, just new changes that they've made to these radios. It sounds just as good as the UV9D Mate. It is about the same price. So unless you're, if you've got, some people comment on my videos and say, "Hey man, thanks for telling me about the dark background. I've got really bad eyes and I can't look at that bright screen all the time, especially at nighttime." I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So this one's a lot more pleasing on the eyes. It's easier to see in bright sunlight. It's easier to look at nighttime when everything's around you dark. You don't want to be looking at a really bright screen. It works just as well as the UV9 does, except it's not quite as powerful, and it doesn't have multiband receive that the UV9 series of radios does, but it is still a great radio. It comes in at 999 memory channels, and it's just a really good, here you can see it's got NOAA weather modes, NOAA weather alerts. It's repeater capable, just like the UV9D Mate is, and it's got a lithium ion battery pack, got a lot of accessories for it. So these are really great radios. They make a GMRS version of this radio. This is the dual band ham radio version, and it's getting added to the list today because I really like this radio. Moving back to Yaesu, which is a Japanese company. Now, the Oshang radios we just spoke about, those were Chinese radios. I don't remember if I said that or not, but let's just add that in there. Those are Chinese radios. This is the lowest priced digital radio we're going to talk about today. This is the Yaesu Ft5DR. It does Yaesu System Fusion. It is dual band single display, so it will do 2 meters and 440, much like the Ft60R, but it's a much newer design, has newer features. It's got the amber backlight of the screen with the black text instead of just a white backlit screen. And it'll also do Yaesu System Fusion, which is their digital mode. Some people call it C4FM. And it'll talk on WiresX systems, WiresX repeaters, your digital hotspots. You can use a lot of your hotspots to do System Fusion to, say, DMR, or the OpenSpot will do System Fusion to D-Star. So with this radio and an OpenSpot 3, you can actually do all modes because it'll transcode System Fusion to all these other modes. So this one comes in at 175 today in gigaparts. It is a 5-watt HT, and it has 1105 memory channels. This is the biggest memory channel HT we've talked about today so far. It's not the biggest one we're going to talk about today, but so far it's the biggest one we talked about. But if you think you might be interested in getting into C4FM or Yaesu System Fusion, if you have some System Fusion repeaters near you or a WiresX repeater near you, or if you own a hotspot, you've been doing DMR or D-Star on a hotspot, you think you might want to get into System Fusion, this one comes in at about 175. It's dual band. It sounds really good on analog, and it's getting added to the list today because of its low price point for getting into digital modes. Now we're going to move back to Oshang. This is a brand new radio that just came out about a month ago at the time of this recording. BetterSafeRadio.com offers all of these radios pre-programmed. They've got several ham radios. They've got all your GMRS radios. They've got marine band radios and some commercial stuff. All of their ham radios come pre-programmed with like 850 some odd channels. So a lot of repeater channels, a lot of simplex channels, a lot of receive-only GMRS, FRS, police and fire band channels, so you can get an entire list of the channels. If you scroll down here, they've got a link down here to somewhere where you can get a list of the channels. But this one's selling for $199. You can get a 7% discount on anything BetterSafeRadio.com with the coupon code of HR2All7. HR2All7 will get you a 7% discount anything on this website. This is a brand new radio. I did a review on it. A lot of people had really good comments about it. It is the UV9 series of radios from Oshang. Now, what they did, Better Safe Radio went to Oshang and they said, we want to design something that's a little bit more unique that only we sell. So Better Safe Radio designed this radio, had Oshang built it, and you can only buy it at BetterSafeRadio.com. It's got some extra backlight features on it. If you saw this right here, you can change the backlighting on it, change the text color on it. It does have 220 megahertz ham radio band receive only, will not transmit, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll see that in a future edition of these radios. But it's a great radio. If you're just getting into ham radio, or you're coming from GMRS, which most of your GMRS radios are pre-programmed anyway, channels 1 to 22. If you're just getting into ham radio and you don't really know what to do yet as far as channels go, this might be a great option for you with the pre-programming of it. Coming in at $199, remember that 7% discount coupon that I mentioned a minute ago. This one is also brand new. Icom just announced this radio shortly before Hamvention, which was in May of 2022. May of this year, May of 2022. This is the IC T10 UHF VHF FM transceiver. It is analog only. It is dual band, 2 meters and 440. It does not have D-Star, which most of your Icom HTs in the last few years have all been digital plus analog. It's been a while since they've done an analog only radio. So this one meets a need for those of you in the audience that don't care about digital. And there's some people out there that don't care about digital. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all about what you want to use. This is a brand new radio that's built like one of their commercial radios. The case looks like one of their commercial, maybe one of their P25 or maybe one of their monoband police and fire type radios. Comes in at $239 over at Gigaparts today. It is a 5-watt HT, 5 watts on, it has tri-power, 5 watts on high power, 2.5 watts on middle power, and 0.5 watts on low power. So if you're talking into an all-star hotspot, you want to keep the power real low, you can do that. It only has 208 memory channels, so not nearly as many as some of the other radios we talked about today, but this is a Japanese brand. Icom is from Japan. It's going to have a much better audio quality, transmit audio quality, much better speaker, and generally a better receiver than some of your Chinese-made stuff. So if you're just a diehard Icom guy, or you just want something that's not made in China, this might be a really good option for you. We're going to talk now about another tri-band HT radio. In fact, that's your word of the day, tri-band. We're not at the end yet, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Tri-band. Put tri-band in the comments below. This is the Yaesu Vx-6r. This is a tri-band HT. It looks a lot like the FT60, except it's a newer design. They had a Vx4r before, and I think like a Vx8r, something like that. I don't remember. This one is, I thought this one was out of production, but according to everything I can find, which is not much, it looks like it's still in production. Gigaparts has these brand new in stock right now at the time of this recording. It includes the 220 1.25 meter band, but it's only 1.5 watts. Now, if you're like me and you have a 220 All-Star node, 1.5 watts is plenty. It's not going to reach a repeater way across town, But honestly, you shouldn't be trying to reach repeaters way across town with an HT radio anyway. Get a mobile radio, put it in your car, and talk on 220 and see how far it can really go. That's really fun. But at least it includes the 1.25 meter band. We've talked about 3 different radios today that include 1.25 meter. It was the TYT TH350, the B-Tech UV5x3, and this Yaesu, this Vx-6r. This one is going to be, by far, a much better quality of audio, both transmit and receive, and a better receiver than your Chinese radios. And it's got a really good display. It's just a monochrome, monoband display. This is the same way as the FT60R. So if you're looking to get into something with 220, if you want something that's Japanese made, something that's tried and true, something that's got really good audio quality, then but also includes 220, coming in at $249 a day, Yaesu might be the answer for you. Now, this is one of my favorite radios in the world. I'm going to tell you right now. My everyday carry pack that I told you about a minute ago, this radio is in that pack. This is the Anytone Atd 878 UV2+. This is the latest and greatest Anytone dual band DMR HT. It has 4,000 channels, a 4,000 channel capacity. And the reason for that is because a lot of DMR repeaters might have access to 10 or 12 or even 100 or a few hundred talk groups. So you can change the channel. You can put all those talk groups that you want to talk on into the radio and then do that for the next repeater and then do that for the next repeater. So you've got a lot of options with a 4,000 channel memory capacity. It does have 500,000 contacts, which you have to load your contacts into the radio, and it will show you who's talking back to you if you have the contact database loaded into the radio. If you have more questions about that, there's a lot of DMR 101 videos on this channel, so go check those out. This one does come with Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth it to your car stereo. Comes with this little PTT button right there that has a Velcro strap around it, so you can put it around your finger. You can put it around your steering wheel if you want to hit the PTT button. You can put the radio on your belt down here and walk around with the Velcro strap on your finger and a headset, and you can use the PTT to talk to the headset, which is all Bluetooth to the radio. So it's got Bluetooth in it, which a lot of the radios we're talking about today don't have Bluetooth. This one's like the GS5B from Radiodity, which is Bluetooth programmable. This one you can't program with Bluetooth, but you can hook it to Bluetooth speakers, car systems, PTT systems, headsets, and whatnot, and it's a little bit more versatile in that regard. This one is the first radio to ever come out of China with true APRS send and receive. Now, it's not a full-featured APRS. It's missing some of the really fun bells and whistles that APRS can do, like messaging and whatnot, but it will transmit your location and it will receive your location. It doesn't do beaconing. You could turn the APRS on to either beacon your location every time you key up or every time you unkey, but if you're just setting it on the desk, it's not going to beacon every minute or two the way that some other APRS radios do. So it's not a full-featured APRS, but it's a move in the right direction. It's got a great color display. It's fully front panel programmable. Those of you who don't like DMR because you don't like programming your radios with a computer, you can program everything radio-wise, analog, DMR, digital, talk group, time slot. You can program all that from the front panel. It's a lot quicker to do it with a code plug. I share a free code plug of my own, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. But this is a great radio, one of my favorite ones. Very loud speaker, 4,000 channel capacity, 500,000 contacts. Comes in at about $314 from Bridgecom. Bridgecom's got an excellent series of videos that they call Bridgecom University, which you get for free anytime you buy a product from them. So go check this out in the link in the description below. This is definitely one of my favorite radios. We're in the top tier now. So the Anytone is my favorite DMR radio right now. This one here is my favorite System Fusion radio. This is the Yaesu Ft5D. Comes in at about $459. This one came out last year. It's only about a year old. They had an FT3D prior to this one. And the reason that with this global supply chain issue and shortage of microchips and everything else going on in the world right now, in order for them to keep making the FT3D, they would have had to reapply for their FCC certification because so many parts inside of it had to change because they couldn't get parts for it anymore. So instead of doing that, they said, we're going to take some feedback we got from the community, make a brand new radio. I had John Crook from Yaesu on my live stream one time, and he was telling us all about this. So they made a brand new radio, a little bit change of a form factor, a little bit change of the touch screen capabilities and whatnot, but it has true dual band. It has 1,000 channel capacity, so we're good there. It has true APRS, full-featured APRS. It'll do beaconing. It'll do Yaesu's smart beaconing. If you don't know what that is, look that up on YouTube. It's got a full color display. It's got a really good looking color display. It does have Bluetooth, so you can Bluetooth headsets to it. You can Bluetooth PTT buttons to it. You can Bluetooth it to your car stereo system. This is Yaesu's top of the line HT. If you're interested in system fusion, if you're interested in true APRS and a dual band HT, or if you just like Yaesu because you got other stuff, this is a fantastic radio. I have one of these. I carry it around with me. The battery life in this radio is better than most of your other lower end radios. This one's about on par with the Anytone radio we just talked about. These are top of the line radios from Anytone, which is made in China. This is the top of the line radio from Yaesu, which is made in Japan. This is a great addition to the lineup today, and it's our second to last one. Our last one, of course, is the Icom Id 52. Now, this one comes in at the top. It's the very last one, only because of the price point, $649 at the time of this recording. It does D-Star. It does DPRS, so it doesn't have true APRS for analog the way that we're used to using in amateur radio. DPRS, I don't really know much about it, honestly. It's digital packet reporting system or something like that. So I've never used DPRS. This one does have Bluetooth. It'll Bluetooth to your car stereo, to headsets and PTT buttons the same way. It's got color displays like that. You can change the backlighting in it. You can load a repeater database via micro USB card into the radio, and it will, and then you can use the GPS, and it'll tell you what repeaters are near you, both digital and analog. It is micro USB chargeable. Again, not USB-C chargeable, so it's not the latest and greatest, but I think having micro USB is much better than having no USB at all and being locked down to a proprietary charging cradle you got to carry around with you. At least micro USB is very prevalent, so you can charge it via USB, micro USB. It has a great looking display. You can preload repeaters into it with a micro SD card that's in the side of it. It has full featured Bluetooth, send to receive and everything, and it's just a great addition. If you like D-Star, it does full D-Star as well. Let's see, 1,000 channel capacity, wideband receiver from 88 to 174 megahertz, 225 to 479 megahertz. And then guaranteed transmit range 144 to 148 and also 440 to 450. 5 watts on high power. Looks like it's got 5 power settings. 5 watts on high power, 2.5, 1 watt, half a watt, and 0.1 watts. There you go. Icom Id 52, Icom's second to newest radio. They came out with this last year. It was delayed a lot because of global supply chain issues. It finally came out. It's been real popular. They dropped the T10 this year for analog users, so you've got options there for what you want to use. If you just like your Icom radios like I do, then you've got plenty of options there. Guys, those are my top 16 HT radios for ham radio in 2022. Let me know what you think about this list. Check the links in the description below. If you think I missed something, put a comment below. And remember, your word of the day is tri-band. Catch you next time.